The phantom of Ridgeway Ghost Road. The wind whispered secrets through the autumn leaves, and a lingering fog caressed the streets of Hollow Fines. My favorite time of the year, not just for the cider and sweaters, but for the heightened energy that seemed to buzz through Wisconsin's air. It was on one such crisp evening, while dusting off a particularly moody gramophone, that an unfamiliar chime signaled a visitor. Pushing open the door, a woman stepped inside, her eyes darting around the shop with a mix of fascination and unease. Red hair, a tad wild from the wind, framed her pale face. "Mr. Holloway?" she asked, tentatively, her voice echoing the trembles of the wind outside. "At your service," I responded, leaning against the counter, arching an eyebrow. "What brings you to my humble haunt?" She hesitated for a moment, then seemed to muster some courage. "It's Ridgeway. The drumming, it's gotten louder, more intense. We've had experts, even a few shamans come in, but they all left, unnerved." Ah, Ridgeway. I was no stranger to its legends. The phantom drumming linked to the ancient burial mounds was something I'd heard of, but never directly encountered. "What's changed?" I inquired, genuinely curious. "It started a month ago," she began. "An artifact was uncovered near the mounds, an old ornate drum. Some believed it was a relic, others a cursed object. But since its discovery, the drumming has grown in intensity. It's driving people mad, keeping them up at night. Kids are having nightmares. Animals are acting strange. We don't know what to do." I paused, glancing at the radio, where Ethel resided. She remained silent, a rare occurrence. Seemed like even she felt the weight of this tale. Picking up my jacket, I smirked. "Well, sounds like you need an antique dealer with a side of paranormal expertise, or just someone too stubborn to be scared off by a bit of ghostly percussion." She smiled, relief washing over her face. "You'll come then?" I nodded. "First thing tomorrow. But be warned, if this drum has a tale to tell, I'm all ears. However, if it's just trying to start its own ghostly band, I might just have to sign up." As the night deepened, the town of Ridgeway awaited my arrival, and with it, the chilling mystery of the ghost road's relentless drumming. Morning came quicker than expected. The rays of dawn painted the sky in shades of gold and orange. As I set out for Ridgeway, the journey was filled with a mix of scenic beauty and a growing sense of eerie anticipation. The closer I got, the more I could sense the spiritual turbulence emanating from the area. Pulling into the town, it was hard not to notice the oppressive atmosphere. There was an almost tangible silence, broken only by the muted conversations of townsfolk and the occasional distant drumming. The rhythm was erratic, sometimes quickening to a frenetic pace, then slowing down, like the faltering heartbeat of a wounded animal. I parked near the center of the town and was met by the redhead from the previous evening. "Mr. Holloway, thank you for coming. I'm Laura, by the way." "Pleasure to meet you, Laura," I replied, offering a smile. "Show me to this drum." She led me to the local museum, a quaint building filled with historical tidbits of Ridgeway. In a dimly lit corner stood the drum, its skin taut and seeming to vibrate with a life of its own. "Ever since we placed it here, the drumming has been non-stop," Laura whispered. "People have tried playing it, understanding its rhythm, but it only grows louder." I approached it cautiously, placing a hand on its surface. Instantly, a rush of visions flooded my mind. A tribe dancing around a fire, a ritual of respect and reverence, a betrayal, and the land soaked in sorrow. Pulling my hand back, I took a deep breath. This drum isn't just a relic, it's a beacon, a conduit for the spirits tied to this land. Someone disturbed their peace. Laura's eyes widened. "What do we do?" I pondered for a moment. "We need to return it, directly to the burial mounds, with respect and understanding. It's the only way to appease the spirits." With Laura's help, I carefully transported the drum to the burial mounds. The rhythmic beats grew louder, almost urging us on. Reaching the mounds, I placed the drum at its center. "We need to pay our respects," I told Laura. "Follow my lead." Together, we began a simple chant, a song of peace and reverence I'd learned during my travels. As our voices intertwined, the drumming synchronized with our rhythm. Hours seemed to pass, and as the sun began to set, the drumming softened, growing fainter and fainter until it was no more. Exhausted, Laura and I sat beside the now silent drum. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes glistening with gratitude. I nodded, casting a final look at the peaceful mounds. "Respect for the past is our bridge to the future," I murmured. "And sometimes, to mend today's wounds, we need to understand yesterday's stories." Returning to Hollow finds, I felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing another tale had found its closure. And as night descended, I was happy there was a peaceful resolution. But not all of our adventures are so fortunate.